We did. That's called something. Anyone remember what it is? What's it called when it goes from a solid to a gas? Directly, without melting. It's a word we don't use very often, yeah. Kaylin? Sublimation. Sublimation was when we went directly from a solid to a gas. Now, I have to tell you, that was really cold stuff, wasn't it? It was about 120 degrees below zero. That's cold. That's so cold that if I touched it, or Mr. Lothrop touched it with our bare hands for very long, it would cause us to have some discomfort. But the stuff that we have for you today is not a solid. It's a liquid. And it is more than 2 times colder than dry ice. That's why you have all these things on your heads. It's a gas. I want to talk to you for a second. Listen, when we take a gas and we compress it down a lot, and we cool it off a lot, we can actually turn it into a liquid. Now the gas that I have that's liquefied comes in a special tank called a dewar. Can you say that word? Dewar. And it's so cute, it has a tiny little penguin on the front, which indicates that it's very, very, very cold. Now I have to tell you, this is about 320 degrees below zero. It's cold. I don't want to touch it. I don't want you to touch it. What do you think we could possibly find to do with something that cold? I don't know. I happen to bring some gloves and a hammer. I imagine you could probably find something. Do you see what's happening right here? This is water in here. What's happening? It's a liquid turning into a gas. The really interesting thing about liquid nitrogen, my friends, is this. It boils at the temperature that this room is in. You have to think about, this is nitrogen. About 75% of the air that you're breathing in through your nose and your mouth right now is nitrogen. But when it's liquefied, we have a different situation. It boils at room temperature. Think about that for a minute. It has this little pressure valve on the back of it because it's turning into a gas. So we have to kind of let some of this pressure out before we open up our tank. You hear that? It's a serious, serious business. I'm going to pour some on the floor so you can see it. We can't let all that pressure go at one time, or that would just cause bad things. What?
Don't have your goggles on, please put them on now.
Right now would be a good time.
Okay. Safety first.
Very cold. Now this is a double-edged, a double-sided furnace, which means that there's a layer of air in there. When we talk about molecules and how close they are together, in a gas, they're pretty far apart, and that helps to insulate things. It's kind of like a thermos that you would keep your coffee in, but different. You see it? Watch. And pour it on the floor. Watch. It'll boil on the floor.
Probably burn the plastic.
It's gone. Seriously, it evaporates that fast. That floor is like a pancake griddle to us. See? Okay.
Just dry it.
Totally. Goes away that fast.
Still things dry.
Good. Gotta look fast. Boiling. Boiling. Boiling.
Oh my gosh.
Boiling.
Oh my
Come
god,
around
that
to you,
is like
stay seated.
Yep, gotta stay sitting down. And I gotta go fast because it boils away very quickly. See? Boiling. So, what fun things can we do with this? This is a good one.
no.
All right. Look at it. Pretty, isn't
Flower.
it? Do you see what's going on here? I can flash freeze this by putting it into this liquid. You hear that?
Sounds like it's cooking, right?
You hear it?
It sounds like my dad making mistakes.
So how is it freezing and boiling at the same time? Anyone else kind of confused by that?
Yeah.
What I can do,
Flower
Mr.
murder.
Lothrop, how's that feel?
Oh, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah? Watch.
Flower murder.
Freezes that bad.
She's a murder.
And just to show you that she didn't fake it or anything, here's one of those flowers. It's just a regular flower, right? It touched you, right? So nothing, it's regular soft flower, right? Very smooth. Definitely didn't do that.
Oh, how about a marshmallow? Yeah. Is there water in here? Is there water in all the food that we?
Yes.
I'm gonna drop it right in here.
It's gonna get all big.
Do you think it'll hurt?
That thing's gonna get so big. It's over there.
So it looks a little like dry ice, doesn't it?
Hello.
With its constant, evaporation here. So we're gonna hold this down in here for a minute because, you guys know.
It's gonna get really big, I bet.
What do you think's gonna happen to that marshmallow?
It's gonna mix more milk.
Yeah, keep in mind, this just an ever regular smushy old marshmallow, right? I mean,
Here, put it on here, I'll smack it.
she'll smash it, show you.
You should throw it out to the crowd.
Looks like the same marshmallow, doesn't it?
I can already hear that it's solid.
What do you think? Let's make it,
It's
What
gonna smash.
do you think?
It's gonna go get smashed.
Look at that. What happened?
Turn to ice or something.
How?
Oh, I see it.
Talk to me about how that happened.
When you put it in there, like, in the bottom, it was so cold that it froze the marshmallows from inside.
Do it again.
It did, it froze all the water in there.
Yeah, the outside is frozen. It's gonna be good.
Hi. I'm not sure today is a great day. So let's talk about some properties that matter here. I don't know if this is gonna work.
It should.
Can you see that? This is a ping pong ball.
You gotta help it, it says.
It's a ping pong ball.
Well, I submerged it in liquid nitrogen.
What if it broke?
No, it's not gonna break. What happens is there's gas inside there, and then I put a small hole in it. I'll hold on to there for a minute. Let's see if I can get it to spin.
It's cold on the bottom. Let's move it on its own.
Can you see it?
It's a lot.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
The air inside the ping pong ball is much cooler than the air outside, so we're having some kind of reaction. Do you see it spinning? I'm not watching.
It's going faster now. There, look at it now. And it is still spinning on the floor.
That is awesome.
All right.
No, I'm just saying.
Pikachu.
That balloon Mr. Lothrop's holding, what's in it?
Air.
Who's air? What kind of air?
Air or air?
Cold air.
Oxygen.
I want to talk to you for a second. Let me have your attention. What do we know about atoms and molecules? What happens to them when they get cold? Be a cold molecule for me right now. What happens to you? How are you moving? If you are hot, how are you moving? You're spreading out, right? So Mr. Lothrop is kind of full of hot air. Or at least room temperature air. And what I'm doing is I'm putting this into a much colder state. Am I not here? I'm taking all of Mr. Lothrop's breath that's captured in here because it's tied. It was warm, so they were kind of spread out, and I'm making it colder, which is doing what to these molecules? Shrinking.
Whoa.
It's like it's melting.
I'm shrinking it. Does it sound different?
Stab it. Grab it.
Oh, it's gonna be solid.
It used to be really big.
Show it to it.
So if I keep just making this colder and colder, can I make those molecules and those atoms closer together?
Yeah.
Pull it up.
What happens if I warm them up?
It's gonna.
It's gonna expand more.
It's gonna blow.
Oh God.
Put it in the so cool.
Uh-oh.
Put it in the boiling water.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
Talk to me about what those molecules and atoms just did. I can do this over and over again. You're all that crunching, those are flower petals in there, all crunching up. Yeah.
So like when you would put it in the liquid nitrogen, it all shrunk and compacted into a solid, but all those molecules are heating up, so it's self-expanding itself again.
So this is boiling at about 320 degrees below zero. Is this room warmer than that?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We brought some other fun things to smash up too. Raspberries. Do you think there's a lot of moisture in a raspberry?
Yes.
Yeah. It's supposed to be.
Let's see what we have. I don't know if we're gonna, maybe not have like Do I need to smash a fresh raspberry just for comparative purposes too? Most of all living things consist of water. You all are mostly water. All things that are living are mostly made of water. So what I'm doing is I'm freezing this and I'm changing the state of matter from a liquid to a solid, which makes it more brittle, kind of like a rock, right? I wonder if I could smash rocks.
Ooh.
Cool.
Let's do. Do
Uh-oh.
you want me to smush a real one too?
Yeah.
Do that first
Well,
line.
they're both two.
Do smush the real one first.
Got a little.
Bladder.
Ready?
Yeah. Oh God.
Where'd she go?
Right here.
All right, ready? Those cell walls freeze. Hey, do you know ice is really sharp, isn't it? When it freezes inside of a cell, it does the same thing. It gets sharp. And it breaks apart the cell walls. And then, actually, have you ever had a berry that's been frozen and then thawed out?
Yeah.
Does it taste exactly the same?
No.
Because those ice crystals kind of break down those cell walls. So we have a different kind of a situation there.
Now we have a banana. Take banana. See? Nice and smushy, right? So nice, not a hard banana, nice and soft, right? Good, good.
Your breakfast, good job.
Look at all this sublimation happening in here. You see it? So evaporation, condensation.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Lothrop, grab your hammer.
It froze the outside.
See what happens.
No, I hit the wrong end, watch.
Fly, good believe
There you go, frozen banana.
It was under my butt.
Now you know they use, hey, come on back to us. They use liquid nitrogen. Actually, you can make ice cream with it. You can make, we could really make frozen bananas. We can eat them. And if you've ever watched some of the Mythbusters episodes, they do one where they see if you can really take liquid nitrogen and make food and eat it, and you can. But obviously we're not going to let you try that here because liquid nitrogen, it has to be prepared the right way. But it can be used to make things very super frozen so that you can eat them. Putting a banana in the freezer is totally different than putting it in the liquid nitrogen because that's hundreds of degrees colder. Nice big flower there.
Now we put the freezer in the way.
Cheez-Its.
Frozen Cheez-Its.
No.
Okay. Looks like it's taken.
And you hear them crunching your
Oh, they're
head.
very crunchy.
Oh, wow, it's like the crunchiest crunch you've ever had.
And they don't taste like Cheez-Its anymore.
No, they're
He still has it.
kind of yucky.
Yep. They absolutely are.
Oh, and I just swallowed it.
Yep.
I made a moldy from last before.
Oh, can I
I think that would be worse.
Oh, I think we should have Mr. Olson try one, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I think we had the goggles on.
Oh, I know.
Frozen cheese.
Mine exploded in
Freeze it. Is this one of those things where it's like, oh, it's awful, try it?
It's really good.
Just make sure you chew with your mouth open so we can see all of your evaporation.
Oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know you were here. Pointer.
You want to hold it? No.
I didn't know that.
I didn't even see him.
Pop it in.
Yep.
Your mouth up, yeah.
Is it gross?
Yeah, it's pretty gross. You're welcome, Ms. Rolson.
Yeah, that's so.
All right, so let's do a quick review. I want to talk to you again about states of matter. I want to talk to you again about cells and how they perform. We've been talking a lot about rocks. We've been talking about, do you remember one of the ways that when we were identifying minerals, one of the ways that we talked about identifying minerals was how things break? Do you remember that? Mohs scale of hardness. Anyone remember all of that conversation that we had? All right, so we can change the states of matter, and we can, if I froze that raspberry that's still laying up there that was smushed, eventually it will melt. It will go back to room temperature. Will it be exactly the same? Probably not. One of the really interesting things about liquid nitrogen is that it has actual uses in the world.
Cooking.
There are chefs that prepare things that way. If you want to freeze dry like herbs and things like that, they use this method. Do you see how it made the flour all crumbly? If I wanted to freeze an herb, I could do it that way too and make it crumbly, and then I could sell it like that. Now, this particular liquid nitrogen came from a medical facility because they use liquid nitrogen in order to freeze things off of a person. Like if you have an interesting spot on your skin that maybe not there, like a mole or a
Nice big
skin
wart.
tag or a wart
Big
or
wart.
anything like that, what you do is you go to a medical facility and they have a big tank of this and they can put liquid nitrogen directly on your skin. They're trained professionals. They know how long to leave it there and what to do. We wear protective gear because we aren't trained in that. But they can use that in order to remove things from your skin. It will freeze whatever skin is underneath there, which is that has a lot of medical purposes as well. I know, is there another, do they use that in labs too for?
They use liquid nitrogen for a lot of things. If you want to super freeze anything and still work on it, you would use the liquid nitrogen. So for example, another good example, they use it in hospitals for surgeries. They'll use it for like tumor. What they'll do is if you have like a tumor right underneath the skin, they will freeze your skin. They'll actually take a needle, big long needle, okay, and they will actually inject it into the muscles underneath your skin, and it will freeze the muscles. Now, they can't put a lot of it in because too much of it will freeze the water content in there. Remember, you get those crystals that form like we showed you in there. You get too much, it'll cause damage, but they do it quickly. They freeze it up, and then they take a big knife and they cut the tumor out, and then they warm up the body slowly to warm it up, and then they repair it. So it's not just used for skin conditions, it can be used to do surgeries, it can be used, we use it for some testing at the hospital we used to do, and we take cancer cells out of people's bodies, then we test them to see if they were malignant or not, whether they had cancer or not, and we had to deep freeze them quickly, and the best way to do it is to use the liquid nitrogen.
How do we get liquid nitrogen? Do you remember that from our earlier conversation? How do you make it? It's around you right now. 70% of the air or the gas in this room is nitrogen. So how do I get it from here to in that little penguin container to be used for our personal enjoyment or a medical facility? How do they get it there? Do you remember? Why don't you talk to someone near you and see if you can't brainstorm that? Remember? Let me ask you this question, boys and girls. We're talking about freezing gases. It's about to get really cold in the next couple of weeks. Do we need to worry about all the nitrogen that's in our air all of a sudden liquefying on us?
No.
No. Why? I don't need, on those really cold mornings when I go outside and have to scrape the windows and my nose hurts from breathing in, I don't need to worry that all the nitrogen that's around me is just going to all of a sudden turn to liquid and fall down. What stops that from happening? Why doesn't that happen in nature? Naturally in nature. Why? Yeah. We're missing some elements, right? There's no pressure happening. But it also doesn't get quite that cold. On mornings when it's very, very frigid, and even in other parts of the world where it gets even colder than it does here, we can get about -40 or -50, but nowhere on earth does it happen that we have -320 degrees. Okay, we need some special equipment, we need some pressure, we need some special tanks in order to hold that. Can I liquefy oxygen? How many of you say yeah? Yep. Can I liquefy hydrogen?
No. Yes.
Can you liquefy any gas? Why didn't we bring liquid hydrogen in here? Why didn't we bring liquid oxygen in here for your viewing pleasure today? Any ideas? Perhaps you might need more than goggles. Why would we not bring liquid hydrogen or liquid oxygen in for demonstrative purposes? Yeah.
Dangerous.
It's why is it dangerous? I agree. That's a fabulous word that you chose. It is dangerous, but why is it dangerous? Because what happened? Yeah. Highly explosive, flammable.
Yeah.
Now, we are in the interest of safety. We picked the most inert gas possible. It is not flammable. I can actually put candles out with liquid nitrogen just from the gas that it is making during its evaporation. Because what does a fire need in order to burn? Right? Think of that triangle that we talked about. I want 5 things before you walk out. What did we learn? What
5 different
information?
people.
What science facts did we learn about today? Good ones. I want good ones. I don't want you to tell me that marshmallows break up. That's not really, maybe you learned. Gabe, what you got?
Liquid, I can't remember the name. Nitrogen can fast freeze, probably I would have to say mostly every object, like,
What does it actually freeze in an object?
this is,
Help Gabe. What's it freeze? Everybody. The what?
sublimation.
Freezes the water. Good. All right, what else did you learn today? Yes.
Liquid nitrogen is 320 degrees below zero.
320 degrees below zero. Is that colder or warmer than dry ice? It's much colder, right? More than 2 times. Anyone remember how cold dry ice is? 120. It's about 200 degrees colder. What else did we learn today? Yep.
That was the nitrogen can be created by pressurizing the nitrogen in the air.
We compress it and cool it in order to get it in the liquid form. Are you noticing that it doesn't last very long?
No.
Once I put it out at this temperature, why is it going away so fast? What's it doing? It's phase changing, but why?
Because it's room temperature when it boils and
It's boiling. If I leave that pot of water boil for a while, will the pot eventually boil dry? Yeah, but this room is so much warmer than 320 degrees that it's boiling really fast. We call that a rigorous or a vigorous boil. It goes away really fast. What else? Yep,
Liquid nitrogen can change the characteristics of an object.
absolutely. It changes the characteristics of an object. It makes smooshy things hard. Deirdre,
You can freeze any gas with liquid.
you can liquefy. Hey, here's a question. Can I make liquid nitrogen into a solid? At 320 degrees, it's a liquid. 320 degrees below zero, it's a liquid. Do you think I can turn it into a solid if I make it colder?
Maybe like 640.
At about 346 degrees below zero, I can actually take that nitrogen that's liquid and turn it into a solid. It would be like dry nitrogen. Absolutely.
You know, how many of you have ever seen those Star Trek episodes or where they put people in suspended animation for the future? Or you heard a long time ago people were going to freeze their brains when they died and have them freeze their bodies so that 30, 40 years down the line or whenever they cured a disease, they unthaw their body and then cure it. You ever heard of that before or seen it in a movie where they try to freeze bodies in suspended animation for years later? Well, they kind of use liquid nitrogen for that. That's the idea, is that liquid nitrogen can go so low and it will freeze that you could freeze a human body. Now, the reason, can you think of why though in the real world we can't do this yet? Think about if I was to step into a chamber and they flooded it with my body with liquid nitrogen, okay? And put me into this frozen cryogenic state. Okay, what would be the problem with that? What could you see the problem with that when they go to wake me up? This is why it doesn't work yet. What do you think might be the problem?
Because they probably wouldn't be able to start your heart again.
Probably not, but why? Scientifically, why? Thinking about what we know about liquid nitrogen. Okay? Darren.
Everything would be frostbitten.
We would sort of be frostbitten, but why? Think about what the liquid nitrogen does. What does it freeze specifically?
Makes like
Say that louder.
Water.
It freezes the water, and your body is about 68% water. It's flowing through your entire body, so the reason we can't, I can't ever say it, cryogenetically freeze anybody is because they don't know how to bring them out of it without destroying every cell in their body, because that water is not going to go back to being water again. So it's 200-300 years yet probably before we can figure out how to do that. Remember I said they can do it on a small scale, freeze things, but to do your entire body and preserve it for 100 years so you can be brought back to life, we can't do it yet because it will just destroy you. And it's just theoretically, you get it cold enough, you could, and it's been done in movies, is if you took your hammer and somebody was frozen and you hammered them, you could crack them up, so to speak. You could destroy them. Okay?
I'm gonna freeze myself and
All right, thanks for being a great audience today.